Hey, another day, another episode of The Upgrade. Don't panic, everything is fine. I am Gary Muttley, and he is the one and only
Len Carmichael, Landmine Studios. What's going on, Gary?
I'm not panicked. That's what's going on. Everything is fine. Everything is great. Everything is just dandy.
So I'm not panicked because I knew all this was coming.
Yeah.
For all the nonsense that's going on, I'm surprised by only one thing. Just how low the people who are willing to ride the Trump train are able to go. Like, they will go to the depths of the ocean to stay on this train.
The bootlicking is tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. It's ridiculous. And what's funny, and I don't know if you've noticed this, and I've started to notice this, and it's a trend that I hope continues, is that some of these reporters are getting fed the fuck up.
I mean, how could you not?
I'm amazed it took this long. I didn't think, I started to think at this point, it's like if they haven't snapped by now, they probably won't. But,
right.
Like, did you see this guy from CNN, what's his name, Tapper, I Trump's people yesterday?
No, I didn't see that.
I caught it last night. I have to look it up. Guy's name is Navarro. He's one of Trump's people, and Jake Tapper on CNN just starts asking him about this whole thing with Woodward and the COVID thing, and
I can see he's like saying, "Oh, you're not even answering the question."
Yeah, and because he was just reading the standard Trump script of, the action that our president took was unprecedented and blah blah blah, and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi were saying this, and Tapper's like, whoa, you're not answering the question. I'm talking about Trump's own words.
Right.
And he's just like, and then he goes back. He's like, well, if you let me finish, blah, 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 Biden, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, and the dude's
just feeding the lines.
He's getting pissed off, and I'm just laughing. It's like, it's about time. Like, I'm waiting for motherfuckers at the press briefings to just start throwing shit. That's what I want.
Somebody needs to break out the Bush shoe.
Like, I want this stupid Barbie bitch to go up there, what the hell is her name? You know who I'm talking about, the blonde, I'm spacing out on her name, the blonde Barbie who does the press briefings, Kayla, whatever.
Can't remember her name off the top of my head.
I think it's Kayla, but whatever. I'm just waiting for her to go up there.
Kayla McEnany.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for her to go up there and read the standard bullshit, and these reporters to just either get up and walk out or to just call her out on her shit, which they've started to do a little bit, but not enough. Or just start throwing shit at her.
What I want to know is, how come he always picks some woman to be his press secretary? Like, what is with this?
I don't know, but, I mean, maybe he's looking to feed people off it because, look, he told, what's her name? Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah, to go take one for the team, boy.
Go take one for the team, honey.
Yeah.
Go keep our boy happy.
Can we just talk for a second about, I know we're jumping around here right at the beginning, and we can dig back into some of this stuff. You made a post about how you believe that there was some nefarious activities between the Kim Jong Un and
Trump and Kim. Did you read those letters?
No, I didn't. Like, I opened it. I went to look at it, and I started reading it, and it was just so absurd that I couldn't even read the letters because I was going to be mad.
Those letters are like shit that kids send to each other in like 7th grade.
Sorry, Kim Jong Un. I'm talking about his dad by saying "il."
Everybody knows, but. Yeah, well, I posted, like, straight up, were those two boning? Because that's like some note you send to, like, the girl you lost your virginity to in high school. Like, I was reading it and I'm just like lost. I'm like, how the fuck are two grown men, let alone two world leaders, sending shit like this to each other?
So that was my problem, is that I went to read it, and as I said, like, I just got boondoggled by the just the absurdity of the whole thing, and I had to just stop because I knew if I read it, there's just some lines that I can't cross for myself, and that just falls into it. Because I mean, I don't care if two dudes are sending love letters to each other.
Yeah, like, hey,
like that's not my problem.
Yeah,
these are two world leaders that, for all intents and purposes, are on opposite sides of the spectrum, and they're basically kissing each other's asses in letters back and forth. Like, can we have some decorum at all?
Yeah.
Is there any spot where we can just say, hey, this is wrong? But no, Trump's going to Trump, and it's going to just be a continuing shit show.
It's like when you see two people that you're friends with, like crazy making out in front of you, and you're like, yo, go get a room.
Can you guys relax for 5 minutes?
All right, let's stop here for a second, because I'm gonna read you something here. Okay,
all right, read it to me.
First of all, Kim Jong Un refers to Trump as Your Excellency, which, you know, Trump is eating that up because Trump wants to be the king. Right. So of course he's just like, oh yeah. and here, this was from Christmas night in 2018. Kim wrote a letter to Trump reminiscing about their Singapore meeting. Even now, I cannot forget that moment of history when I firmly held Your Excellency's hand at the beautiful and sacred location as the whole world watched with great interest and hoped to relive the honor of that day. As we enter the new year, the whole world will certainly once again come to see, not so far in the future, another historic meeting between myself and Your Excellency, reminiscent of a scene from a fantasy film.
Jesus Christ. What is going on in the world? What is going on?
Like, that's some Pop Your Cherry high school shit. Like, what the fuck is going on there? Like, that's just... All right, Kim Jong-un, nobody's sure exactly what his age is.
Well, they're saying he was born in 84, so he's 36.
Yeah, they believe him to be 36 years old. And Trump is 74. So there's like 20 different layers of creep here.
Yeah, I mean, it's wrong from so many angles.
Like everything you could possibly see about this is... And listen, like you said, it's like if two dudes are into each other, it's like, that's cool. That's your thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We're not.
I could care less.
Yeah, we're not on some, like, you know, moral, like, oh, men with men, like no. Whatever. I don't care. We don't care. Like,
no bearing on me.
Yeah,
it's about two leaders of two separate countries giving each other the tug.
I always said, you know, gay people want to get married. There's nothing wrong with that.
Let them suffer with the rest of it.
That's what I was going to say. Like, you know how many married people I know that are fucking miserable? So you want to get in on that misery? Go for it, baby.
Yeah.
Go.
I don't care.
Like, it doesn't affect me any. Like, what difference does it make?
And I'm going to even say, as far as that, I'm not even saying I don't care. I actually care. Like, I want people to be happy and doing the things that they want to do. 100%. Like, as long as you're not injuring, and I'm not suggesting that this is what it is, but across the board, I don't care what anybody does as long as they're not injuring children, the elderly, or animals. Otherwise, do your thing. I don't care.
As long as it's consensual,
have fun with it.
Go for it. And I'm in the same boat. Listen, honestly, like, I have gay friends. I have friends all kinds of different directions. And listen, if it makes them equal, I'm all for it.
They deserve to be equal. Everybody deserves.
Like, why, you know, why shouldn't they have the same rights?
Yep. 100%.
I would say, look back to the civil rights movement, and things would look differently now. Would look at things now a little different, but that's a whole other problem that we won't even get into.
Well, I mean,
still haven't quite fixed that problem yet. But,
so people, I still hear people arguing on occasion, or read it because we're all stuck basically in our houses overall.
Still,
that it's been forever since the civil rights movement, and people need to just move forward. And I'm like thinking to myself and doing the math of when they signed the civil rights movement into quote unquote law, which still hasn't really been utilized in the best way. My father was 34 at that time, and my mother was 16 or 17. So, these are basically definitely one full-grown adult with a house and a kid already. And then my mother was, right down the line from being a full-fledged adult. She'd actually already graduated high school because she graduated 2 years early. Right. So, I had both my parents were out in the world before the fucking civil rights movement was even signed into paperwork. So, it really wasn't that fucking long ago. The generation before me.
Right.
So, it's just hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. And I can't argue that things are better now than they were then, but that doesn't mean that they're good. Just because they're better doesn't make them good.
Right. There's still more progress to be made, but that goes,
for everything.
That goes for everything. Because putting it all on paper, and this is a variation of what I've said before, putting it all on paper is only the first step, because there's a lot. You got to follow through on it. There's education involved. There's changes involved, and the whole thing has never really fully followed through.
Well, it's like getting married. I mean, you could get married on paper, but if you don't actually follow through with the things that you're supposed to do when you're in a quote-unquote signed into paper marriage, that shit's going to fail. And that's basically what we got going on right now.
I was going to say, to bring it back around to what we were talking about a minute ago, that's why you got so many miserable people that are married and just want to either, just get out or kill their spouse.
I mean,
both of those things, But back to the Trump thing, I don't know. Between two world leaders, this is some weird shit. And especially once you add the whole communism thing to it, and the difference in relations over the years, and Trump being a complete and total narcissist and anarchist. It's just, there's so much bizarre shit, Trump wrote to him in June 2019 that they, quote, have a unique style and a special friendship, unquote, and that only their partnership can resolve the issues between our two countries. Okay.
Listeners can't hear me shaking my head, but I'm shaking my head. It's just all so painful when it doesn't need to be.
I mean, it won't be painful at all. It's going to be like a fantasy film.
Just sit back, relax, let it happen.
What the fuck?
So, I was having a conversation just yesterday, discussing the fact that if you really pay attention, if you're going to read the tea leaves, Trump is winning in November. There just isn't enough groundswell talking about Biden. If you're riding around in anywhere in New Jersey, you will see Trump stand and signs and etc. People on the side of the road handing out swag, and you might see one Biden sign every 20 minutes as you're driving, and it's just Trump, 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 Trump everywhere. If New Jersey didn't have, we'll call it, the centers of a large population of people that will almost always vote blue, we would go red with no hesitation.
Right.
anything near the city.
This is the part, by the way, where I'm shaking my head, but you can't hear me shaking my head.
Because you know I'm right.
Oh, I know. But it's, obviously you're talking about Jersey because that's where you live. There's a bunch of states like that. And even if you go to upstate.
All the states are like that.
Yeah. Certainly if you go to upstate New York, there's a lot of that. But, here's two things about that. And one is something that I've said on social media, which is if we had a choice if the Democrats had put up anybody except Joe Biden, think of how much better our chances would be of getting Trump out right now.
Infinitely better.
Right.
Even if they had chosen old man Bernie, we would be so far down the line.
Bernie, but even if they picked any of these other also-rans that were involved, like, your chances would have been better.
I think your chances would have still been good with Andrew Yang. I think he would have been a perfectly, I didn't spend enough time looking at Andrew Yang, but I've spent some time since, and I think that he has some really good ideas. There are some ideas in there that people just absolutely wouldn't go for, and that would be part of his potential undoing, and probably was part of it, reason why he wasn't seen as viable in the first place. But overall, I think that man has the right vision. And I think I would have had no problem voting for him in comparison to where I'm sitting looking at this ballot. Like, this is what you gave me. You gave me a shit sandwich and a shit wrap. How am I going to make a meal out of this?
Yeah. Well, I think he had two problems, which one was just visibility on his own. A lot of people had no idea
who he is. Yeah.
And two, no matter how much, as has been proven many times now, no matter how much visibility you have, how many people know you, if the party doesn't want you to be the guy, you're not going to be the guy. Hi, Bernie.
Yeah.
So, more shitty choices by the Democratic Party. But it's just amazing to me to sit there and think about it. And it's just, if they had chosen anybody else, Trump's team would be in panic mode right now.
Yep.
They feel confident because there's a lot of real serious issues with Joe Biden. And we've discussed it. I don't want to vote for Joe Biden, but I don't think we can stand another 4 years of Donald Trump.
Exactly. And if given any other better choice, I would not be voting for Joe Biden. Exactly. But in the situation that they have placed me in, and I refuse to waste my vote on a third-party candidate that I know will not do anything in this climate, I will be voting for Joe Biden.
Well, the other thing that comes into play, too, that a lot of people don't think about or don't realize, and we know it because we're more into politics from the way we constantly bullshit about it on this show. It's not just about voting for Joe Biden.
No, you got to vote all the way down to
Donald Trump. It's not even just that. Is that whoever wins this election is also going to be involved with some Supreme Court nominations and things like that. And that is some shit that's going to last way longer than 4 years.
Yep.
And those are things that could potentially have a much larger effect than a presidential election. And some of that stuff is really steep.
We can't risk that shit.
No, absolutely not.
It is
Trump
100% at risk right now.
With the way Trump operates, you do not want him picking somebody for the Supreme Court.
Boy, he's already picked one trash vote.
Right. And he put out the other day, a list of a bunch of other people, because he's got to submit his list in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So, he put a list of a bunch of people, and they're all shit. And
they will all fall in line lockstep with whatever it is that he wants.
Right. And that's the other thing. It's bad enough that everybody's a Trump bootlicker now, but do you want people doing Trump's bidding after he's out of office?
No, fuck no.
No. If you don't want it now, you certainly don't want it then. But that's what that means. So it's not as simple as just voting for Joe Biden or voting for Donald Trump. It's like you're voting for some things that have some serious impact long term on this whole country. And listen, I'll you've said it, I'll say it. I hate the idea, but I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and vote for Joe Biden because we don't have any other choice. And as I've said before, this country cannot survive another 4 years of Donald Trump. With the way things are getting crazier and crazier, with all this shit with COVID, with now him knowing how bad it is and still lying about it, All
right, so let's talk about that for a minute.
that's a whole big subject to dive into now.
The absolute deep throating of boots that has occurred since that tape came out. People just rolling over and giving him the benefit of the doubt, regardless of the nonsense bullshit that he said on that tape. And it's clearly him. It's not doctored. No. What the fuck is wrong with people? I mean, this guy should have been out of here when he made fun of the reporter who's handicapped.
Yeah.
He should have been gone right then. And now we've carried this charade on for 5 years. So at this point, I have to believe that he's right when he says I could go stand in the middle of Fifth Street, shoot someone, and get away with it. Because at this point, people will just give him a pass. I think he is actually the Teflon Don.
Yeah. And it's crazy because when he said that, everybody was like, oh, whatever, joking around. But
no, he wasn't fucking joking.
The fact is that everybody has gone all in on this guy. Like he had a meeting, I think it was last night. I forget. It was either last night or today. I was looking, random stuff pops up on YouTube because they broadcast a lot of the stuff live now. Mm-hmm. And he had a meeting with a bunch of people from Latinos for Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, really? Like, who damaged you people?
It makes my head hurt.
But it's not even limited. It's every group and all the people that work for him all double down on their shit. Like
all the time.
Like I was saying, when it comes to the reporters starting to snap back at them. But there's so many people that will just sit there and suck up everything that this guy says. And it just blows my mind. I just put my head in my hands because I'm thinking about it. Because I just can't even process it. I can't process it because I have some fucking intelligence. And these people are just such unbelievable bootlickers. It's like, what is wrong with you people? Like, all the evidence is there. Well, let's spell this out, okay? All the evidence is there that he knew that COVID was a lot worse than he's ever let on. And even
he's
knowing that,
willfully said that he did not want to, quote unquote, cause chaos.
Well, let's get into that for a second, because this is the same guy that's like, oh, Joe Biden wants to take your suburbs, and the Democrats will have all your cities burning like New York is burning. By the way, New York's not burning.
No, not at all.
I'm sitting here in the Bronx, and there ain't no fires outside my window. I hate to disappoint everybody, but violence is up, gun crimes are up, but there's a lot of suspicion, and I won't say that this is the case, but there's been a lot of discussion about it because of the anti-police sentiment lately. There's people that think that the cops are kind of slowing down. Do I think that? Not necessarily, but I really don't know, and nobody's ever really going to know.
Okay, so let me jump in here for 1 second. Now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people haven't worked in 6 months.
Right.
Jobs are starting to come back online, but at some point, you got to put food on the fucking table. You got to put clothes on the fucking kid. You're already stressed and, in close quarters, living in cities with people, and you probably already had a problem with people ahead of time. I would argue that the violence isn't like random as people would tell you it is. It's a lot more directed. It's people getting at people that they actually already know, and things are just coming to a head.
Right.
Lack of money, lack of resources will lead you to a large increase in violence. It's just like when you say that living in the hood is where you find like more robberies and more this and more that, and I'm like, well, you're also talking about a place where you have less opportunity and less money. Right. So those people see things and they want things and they get things. It's the same thing as if you go, quote unquote, to the trailer park. Those locations typically have a higher recidivism rate for people who are willfully participating in crime because they have less resources.
Right.
So if you're telling me that people are saying that the crime rates are up in general, gun crimes, robberies, etc., yeah, I'm not surprised at all, because this is just how humans work.
Well, Trump would have you thinking that this is protesters and Antifa and all this other bullshit, which...
Most protesters, and I'm going to say most because I'm sure there are some, and I don't want to just blanket statement and say none, but most protesters are out there legitimately standing up for their rights.
Right.
Now, if you push and create chaos in their direction, then that's on you. They're out there minding their own business, standing up for their rights. If you come at them sideways, don't be surprised if they come back at you.
Yeah.
But it's the same situation. If I roll into the trailer park and try and fight everybody on a pickup truck, then that's on me.
Yeah. But this is all, this is the whole thing. Like, the guy who doesn't want anybody to panic about a virus is the same guy trying to get everybody panicked about fucking socialist Democrats and how, 1 minute they say that they want to lock everybody up, and then the next minute they say that they want to put all the criminals out on the streets. So, like, which is it?
Yeah.
But either way, this is the guy who doesn't want to panic anybody about a fucking virus. Like, his whole thing is based on panic. Oh, they're going to take your suburbs. Oh, they're going to put low-income housing in. Oh, my God, they're going to move the black people into your neighborhood.
So, bro, I got a story for you. I rode down to the shore yesterday, and I'm riding down this road that takes you to Toms River from basically from 95 right by Great Adventure, or 195 right from Great Adventure. It's a back road. And it's just the way that I take to get to the shore, so that I don't have to hit like Parkway traffic or anything.
Yeah,
not that there's traffic at now because it's the busy season's over. But regardless, it's just the way I go. It takes about an hour. About 25 minutes into my trip, which is literally, maybe 30 miles from my house, I start seeing these signs that are against HDH. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like reading it, but it's every once in a while. And the signs are not huge, but they're like little yard signs, and they're like, vote against this, vote against that. And I figured out what HDH is. It's high density housing. So basically they're scared that the black people or the Spanish people are going to move into their neighborhoods and change the texture of their neighborhoods because
lower their housing value, all property values, and all that shit.
Change their tax structure, and there'll be more undesirables in the schools, and etc. And like, I'm seeing all these signs, and all these houses have that, and then all these houses have Trump signs. And not to be mistaken, most of the houses that had the HDH signs were the Trump houses. So I'm like, and I'm just getting angrier and angrier as I'm driving to the shore. And I'm like, I just want to just drive through every single sign that I see. I just want to pull off the road and drive through the fucking signs. But that's not going to solve anything. It's not going to solve a damn thing. These people are still going to feel that way. and I would just make it worse.
It's so. Oh God! But once again, the guy doesn't want to panic us about coronavirus. But here's the thing, and this is what drives me the craziest, because all these bootlickers that work for him are going to read the script no matter what. But all the regular people, because I watched one of the rallies the other day from wherever, I don't remember where it was, Nevada or something, one of Trump's rallies, and they're asking people, hey, why aren't you wearing a mask? And they got all the stupid answers that you would expect. And I'm thinking to myself, here is proof on tape, his own voice, that he knows that this thing is dangerous. And then he's out there telling people to take their masks off or encouraging people to not wear a mask. So basically, if you sit there and do the math on this,
he's trying to
you're all in. You're all in on a guy who wants you to die.
Yep.
He wants you to die. Do you hear me hitting the desk? He wants you to die. Like, what?
He's begging for you for he wants you to do self-extermination. And the worst part is he's doing this to his own followers.
That's what I mean.
And they're dumb enough to listen to him.
It's like, oh my God, it drives me crazy. It's like, he wants you to die. You're all in on this guy. He knows you're all in on him. And he's like, hey, let me lead you to your death.
Did you see the rally that happened? I think it was over the weekend, and they had people lined up behind gates. They opened the gates, and everybody is running to wherever Trump was going to do his speech from, because they all wanted to be up front. And there's probably 2,000 people at this thing. Not one mask to be found.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It was embarrassing to watch these people in red hats and shirts and etc. just sprinting to the front of an area where there was going to be a corral for him to speak from. And I'm like, you guys need to get a fucking grip on yourselves. See, because you've lost it.
To me, in my perfect world, which would be terrible because I'm an asshole,
all these people would just catch it and go.
In my perfect world, which obviously will never exist, let all these people get COVID and drop dead. Because, and it'll never happen because we have people who are first responders who will try to treat these people because they have common sense and compassion.
Yeah,
and they will put themselves at risk. And I don't think those people should be at risk. To me, it's like, you know what? You want to be in your little bubble of COVID where you don't want to wear a mask and all this other shit, then stay in that little bubble. You'll get no treatment. You'll get no nothing. If you feel like it's a hoax, go ahead. Take that gamble. Go right ahead. Roll them dice.
Did you see the report that the Sturgis rally is linked to about 250,000 new cases?
Who would have thought?
I was blown away. I couldn't believe it.
Who saw that coming? Oh, wait a minute. We did.
Yeah.
And plenty of other people. It's certainly not. It's not like we were fucking Nostradamus on the motherfucker. I think a little bit of common sense, and some basic mathematics could have told you that.
But these people they just don't care. They think it's bullshit. And then, we had a teacher in Georgia who was diagnosed on, I think, Friday and died on Monday. Where is Betsy DeVos? Where is Betsy DeVos? I want to know where she is, because
I can tell you what she's not doing.
Yeah.
She's not reading a book.
She's not doing anything that is in her fucking job description.
But let me go back for a second, back to this Trump thing again for a second.
Yeah, okay, stay. Go.
Because remember, this guy is leading to your death, because there's plenty of people that can't get tested, no matter what he says that, there's testing for everybody. There's plenty of people that can't get tested. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that when it comes to contact tracing and all that shit, a lot of people say it's a waste of time, because some of these tests have like a 10 to 12 day turnaround.
Right, it's too late.
So by the time you do the contact tracing,
you're hundreds.
The horse is already out. Like everybody's already got it. You're fucked.
We need is rapid tests that happen within the time frame that you're in the fucking office, if you can.
Right, or at least within a day or something. But here's the thing. No matter how hard it is for you to get testing as a regular civilian, Donald Trump gets tested every fucking day. And do you think he waits 10 to 12 days?
Nope.
No. He's got some birth control test shit that probably tells you right there and then.
Yep.
Which nobody else has access to. So here's this guy making you risk your life because you're stupid enough to follow him. He doesn't give a fuck if you live or die, especially because he's got no risk.
At all.
He's getting tested all the time.
People around him are catching it, and he's not catching it.
Right.
This dude is getting away with murder. Literally.
So, if you're a full-on Trump supporter and you're supporting this, just know this guy wants you to die. He's encouraging you to die. He's saying, fuck a mask. He's asking reporters to take their mask off.
Yeah, I saw that. That's just like, what are you doing right now?
But this is what I'm talking about, because he's trying to do that to reporters. Meanwhile, you got how many hundreds of dumb fucks, thousands of dumb fucks showing up with no mask on. Like, yay, kill me.
It's ridiculous. So I just looked it up, and the U.S. has 6.57 million cases of COVID and 194,000 deaths with it related to it. So either as a singular cause or a mitigating cause that pushed other issues to the forefront. So, I mean, I know that there are a large number of people that die every year, and I'm not saying those people weren't going to die, but this seems like a really large number to be specific to a singular cause, and that people are not looking at that and going, our president led us down this path to destruction.
By the way,
accepting it.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me just point out that by many accounts, many medical professionals, many of them say that number is underestimated because there are other people who have died from other causes, but COVID played a part in it.
Right.
So it's entirely reasonable that number is way higher.
And people act like he knows what's going on, like that he's not complicit in any of this. And it's absolute, total batshit crazy to me. I hold him personally responsible for every single one of these fucking deaths. Every single one. And I'm not saying that if we had actually taken action in January that things may not have gotten to this point, but if we had done everything that we should have done from the goddamn start, I would have a lot less to say.
We would never have saved every life.
Nope.
But I think that we could have saved quite a few lives.
Absolutely.
And, not that I'm trying to contradict anything with this phrasing, but every life matters. And, every life that's lost because of just total negligence is just awful.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason for it.
At all.
Except for his own bullshit, which he's still trying to justify. Like, he's trying to put it on Woodward. Like, yes. Well, Woodward had the quote, and if he thought there was something wrong with it, then he should have said something bad. Like,
no, that's your job, motherfucker.
Yeah,
you should have said something.
That doesn't negate your bullshit. Should Woodward have said something? Yeah, probably. Would anybody have acted on it? Probably not.
Probably not. But hey, Woodward is complicit in the deaths, the exasperating deaths of black and brown bodies, because we already know that overall black and brown people get less quality care in the healthcare system. So anybody that falls under that line possibly could have been saved with much better treatment. And I'm not saying that doctors don't automatically treat these people well, but if you have to look at their healthcare from the beginning of their life to now, not just this one singular event.
It's a flaw in the system, the same way we talk about things when it comes to the police.
Yeah,
do I think every cop is bad? No. But do I think the system is flawed? Yes. Do I think every doctor is bad? Obviously not. But the system is flawed.
We've talked about it. I don't fuck with cops in general.
All right.
I know a few just from my town because I went to high school with them. If I'm walking through my shopping center where the studio is, or I'm just out on the street and I happen to see one of them that I knew from being kids and playing soccer or whatever, I will say hello because I'm not rude. But do I trust them in uniform? No. So it is what it is. They're human beings just like I am. I will speak to them just like they are. But as soon as you have that outfit on, I no longer can trust your judgment. So because you're working within a system that doesn't trust me. So why would I trust you back?
Yeah. But the whole thing with doctors is slightly different, but it's a similar idea. It's a flawed system that doesn't treat certain types of people properly.
Hey man, I'm telling you right now, I actually switched my doctor's office like 10 years ago to a brown doctor. I have a brown doctor and he treats me better than any other doctor has ever treated me in my life. He actually looks out for me because I'm not seen as a pariah when I walk into their establishment.
Right. Yeah. And listen, I don't see anything wrong with that. At the same time, at least you have that option, because there's plenty of people, because I've talked about before the neighborhood where I work or used to work and will someday work again once things clear up, that it's the fucking hood.
Right.
And the only options that a lot of those people have, if they can't leave the hood, they go to the urgent care that looks like a meat market.
Yep.
That's what they got. A lot of these people that don't have insurance or working, certain types of jobs with no benefits, no nothing, that's all they got. They got that meat market doctor. So, since that's the only option they've got, that's the kind of care they get. And those are the same type of people that are getting swept up in shit like this.
100%.
So, and listen, do I think that there's a conspiracy like, they created the virus for this and this and that? No.
It's no conspiracy.
But I think, their priorities are certainly shifted a little bit, because they're like, it's affecting the brown people. Whatever. We'll get to it. Just like all this other shit with like the unemployment and the stimulus shit and whatnot.
You could take it straight back to the quote-unquote war on drugs. They didn't give a shit until young white children were getting caught up in the current heroin, fentanyl, etc., opiate swath. When it was kids and young adults and even older adults getting hooked on crack and cocaine, hey, that was just their choice. They could have avoided it. Just say no to drugs.
Yeah.
And, they've always never cared.
That's a whole other bullshit thing anyway. But
so I'm looking at this like, I have this Google coronavirus map up right now just for shits and giggles to look.
Wait, so, Google created the coronavirus?
Yes, 100%.
I thought Bill Gates did.
Well, I mean, they worked with Bill Gates, even though they're mortal enemies. They figured they put their heads together and create this coronavirus.
Oh, wow. I didn't think
all make a lot of money on it.
Wow, what a way to bring the companies together.
So this map is like pretty specific by county, and apparently since August 30th, there have been 165 new cases in my county, which, considering how big my county is, it's really not that bad. 165. That's a reasonable number. But you know what? 51 of them are in my fucking like right down the street from my studio, because they all are kids that came back from elsewhere to TCNJ, and they've been having fucking parties like nobody's business, spreading. There was a party, 19 kids came down with it right after the party. It was at some sorority house, like literally one street light from the studio.
Holy
one
shit.
Street light. I drive by it every day, and I'm like, can your parents not teach you anything? Like, hey, you're going back to school. Stick with just the people in your house. Like, I know you want to go hang out with your friends, but maybe sucking dick on the weekends isn't the thing to do.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous, and it's like that everywhere, because Washington Square Park in Greenwich Village, Manhattan, right in the middle, that area. Mm-hmm. It's all NYU around there.
And it's probably a COVID hotspot.
And they showed, no joke, they showed Washington Square Park packed with people just chilling, no masks, just partying. And it had to be all college students. In that area, that's all that's there.
Yeah. So I just scrolled in on New York. So since August 30th, we got 3,800 new cases in New York City. And I guarantee you they're all around the colleges where all the kids have come back from school.
Can you send me that link?
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now.
So this map here.
So you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen that says map of cases last 14 days.
Right.
And I just hovered over New York. And when you hover over it, then it like says total cases 3,809. Whereas if you hover over my little tiny dot, Mercer County, it says 165. I'll take 165 all fucking day. If you told me that 165 new cases in half a month so it's going to be like 300 cases a month.
Yeah.
For the 3,600 for the year, I'll take that, because that's like basically less than what you guys had in 12 days.
Right. Yeah, okay. Forget it. Because I was hoping it would break it down by borough.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't.
Or even zip code, which would be even better, but no, it doesn't.
Nah, it's just saying New York City. And then there's like different sections of Long Island. Like, I'm assuming it's like close, so Nassau County versus Suffolk County. But they're not getting down into the absolute nitty gritty detail of like exactly how where it is.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, they did put it out at one point in the city, and I'm curious because of, like I said, the way the numbers were when they broke it down by zip code. The area where my job was the number one spot in the entire city.
Oh, Jesus.
So, and once again, it's because it's the hood. There's no, there's no proper medical care.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so Mercer County had 165 total cases from the end of August till today, and 7 deaths. Like, not that I want to have 7 deaths or 165 cases, but that's a manageable number.
Yeah.
But you guys are, Hudson County in New Jersey is 240. I don't know. It seems insane to me right now. Whereas New York City, it's 60 people have died in that same time frame.
Right. Yeah, it seems like they don't have the numbers up anymore, because I found one that says by zip code, but it's not.
It's really not up to date.
Yeah, who knows? They
So what do you think? Let me ask you this. What do you think the end game of this is? Like, how long do you think this is going to persist? Do you think we're going to have Corona around and we're going to be stuck in masks for 2 years, 4 years, 10 years? What do you think the deal is?
I think obviously a lot of it depends on the election. I think if Trump is out, whenever he's out, because even if he gets voted out, we know that they're probably going to have to roll tanks up into that bitch to get him the fuck out of there. I think if Biden takes over, or whoever, if something mysteriously should happen to Joe Biden,
something unheard of, huh?
We can only hope. If something happens, if a new administration takes over, let's put it that way, I think the first thing that they will do is come up with another approach, which will probably include shutting everything down.
You think we're going for a second shutdown?
I think it's inevitable, no matter what. Because even if Trump stays in office, I think the numbers are going to flare up to a point where it's just going to be crazy.
I was seeing that Europe was having a flare.
Yeah.
And I don't believe personally any numbers out of China.
No
offense to any of our Chinese listeners. It's not about you personally. It's your government.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're a Chinese listener, you're probably hip to what goes on. You know what I mean? And they probably can't even actually listen to us if they're in China.
Yeah. Well, I'm not suggesting that there are any Chinese people in China listening to us. I'm talking about Chinese people anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. But
we're definitely not on the acceptable list over there.
No. I don't think we're on many acceptable lists, period. But that's another story. I think, honestly, and I've said it before, I think another shutdown is inevitable no matter what. And the numbers in some places keep going up. And I think if we had a different administration, the shutdown would have happened already. I think Trump is pushing to keep things open. Trump doesn't give a fuck about small businesses, just like he doesn't give a fuck about little people.
No.
Because
don't do anything for him.
For all of his jerking off about the stock market, does the stock market at all reflect anything about small business?
Nothing whatsoever.
Right. So they don't give a fuck if every small business goes into flames.
It means absolutely nothing to them.
Which is gonna happen.
So that's one of the things that just grinds my fucking gears is people saying, well, the economy's doing fine because the stock market's doing fine. I'm like, no, rich people are doing fine because the stock market is doing fine.
Right. The stock market's real people are not work doing anyway. Fine. The stock market's a work anyway, but it also only matters to people who have money. Mm-hmm. Because you don't see small businesses on the fucking stock market.
Nope.
Like, my local restaurant around, a couple blocks away isn't on the fucking stock market, but think of the beating that they're taking, and think about the fact that eventually when the rent apocalypse comes, which I've talked about a million times, when they finally lift the ban on evictions, that's when you're going to see shit collapse.
It is going to go absolutely bonkers when that gets lifted.
And you know how much that's going to affect the stock market?
It'll be a blip. It'll be a blip.
Yeah.
It'll just be a little tiny bump in the road.
Exactly. It's not going to have any significant effect on the stock market because the stock market has nothing to do with small business.
At all.
So because of that, all these small businesses that are let's face it, most of them are circling the drain right now.
Even the ones that are holding up are still circling the drain. They just haven't come to terms with it yet.
Oh, and let me go on a rant for a second here.
No, rant away, though.
We had the Senate and the House of Representatives trying to get a deal together for a stimulus bill, right?
Yep.
And then they couldn't get anything together, and then they went home.
Yeah, they just packed it and we're done for now.
Fuck them for going home, number one. But number two, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, the Republicans threw some shit out there, and the Democrats said no. And of course, people are like, "Oh, well, the Democrats don't want to work with us." Blah 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 blah. A big reason why the Democrats just voted flat out no on it was because there was practically no help in there for small businesses, and there was nothing in there for state and local governments,
which is absolutely needed.
And that was why they said flat out no. So don't believe the Republican bullshit of, the Democrats don't want to negotiate, they don't want to come to the table with something reasonable. Anything that doesn't include help for small businesses and help for state and local governments is not realistic. And I don't blame the Democrats one bit for telling them to go fucking scratch.
Yeah, let me tell you this. I just did the math yesterday or 2 days ago. So for that $1,200 that everybody got, if you break it down, let's just call it over the course of, let's say for $6 a day, you'll get to that number on October 2nd. So as of October 2nd, they will have given each and every person that was quote unquote out of work $6 a day. And each day that keeps going along, it gets less and less and less.
Did you see the thing that I posted the other day? Is that what you're referring to?
No, I didn't see what you posted.
I posted a thing on Facebook that somebody else posted on Twitter. And one person says, "We've been in a pandemic for 6 months. The federal government gave people $1,200. And then somebody else says, "For just $6 a day, you too can sponsor an American." And then under that, Sarah McLachlan posts, "If you all need a soundtrack for this commercial, let me know."
Well, she ain't wrong. None of them are wrong.
$6 a day.
So let me side note this for a minute. I've always been lax with filing my taxes. I'm going to admit that straight here on the show because I've never owed any money. It's always been that the government owes me money, and I don't feel like going through the hassle of doing the paperwork because it's a couple hours that I just don't give a shit about. But I finally sat down and did my taxes for, whatever was due, and I'm getting some money back. And I'm thinking to myself, if I had done them earlier, I could have gotten that $1,200. It would have been some small adjustment because I think I make a little bit over the limit as to like how much you could get up to a certain limit. Like they prorate it, but I still could have gotten some money. And I was thinking to myself, do you think I could ask for it now? I might. I don't know if I can or not.
I'm not sure.
It's just like, and I'm thinking about it, like if they decide to do another stimulus package, if they can ever come to an agreement and like finalize it, would I even ask for it?
Well, I'm sorry. Here's another rant, because I talked about this on social media, but it would be another thing to talk about on here. Since those guys couldn't come to an agreement on any sort of stimulus thing, which of course just fucks everybody. Well, not everybody, us little people.
Yeah.
Trump turns around and talks about a payroll tax holiday.
No, absolutely not. If you are listening to this and you think that this is a good idea, it is not in your interest to do this. Make sure that you go out to your HR department and opt out of this thing.
They can't.
They're not allowing you to opt out?
Employers can. Employees cannot.
Oh, fuck. I thought you could. I thought the employees could opt out.
I looked into this because there was actually some discussion. I posted about this on Facebook, and in the comments there was some discussion, so I actually looked it up. Employers can opt out of it, and there's some technicalities there. But if you're just a regular old employee, you have no choice in the matter.
They will just claw that money right back out of you at the end. It's so that they don't have to pay you at the end of the year. You got to pay them.
Well, what happens is, and this is explaining it for any of you listening that aren't already aware of how this works. This is not just a gimme. This is not just like, oh, we're going to waive the taxes and you get this extra money and that's cool. It's not. What happens is we're in September. For the last 3 months of the year, they will take out less taxes from your paycheck.
Which means you, in turn, get less back in your return later.
Well, not even that.
You may owe.
That's another story, which hasn't even been fully addressed or explained. But here's the thing. Yeah, you get a little extra money in your pocket for the last 3 months of the year. Come January 1st, forget about your tax return. Come January 1st, for January, February, March, they start taking those taxes out again, plus
the ones that you didn't pay.
Plus the taxes that they gave you a break on before. So basically, they're taking double taxes out, which means that not only aren't you getting what you got, say, last month, you're getting less. So that little extra money that you get right now means you're going to get less in your paycheck come January. So if you're not good with budgets and shit, be careful because you're going to fuck yourself.
But I guarantee you, whatever your actually take home is, they're going to tax you different. Your tax structure is going to be different on that. There's no way they're going to just adjust the tax structure. So you're going to get screwed double in 2021 because you're going to be making less per check and then owing them money or not getting any back, getting what you thought you should have got back. They're going to literally
let me point out. Yeah. Let me point out the most important part. That money will come out and you'll be getting less money unless you vote for Donald Trump. Because he's already said that he will waive it when the time comes, as long as he's the one in charge.
Isn't that bribery?
Absolutely. But this is also a guy who's had, 11 former staff members up on charges, and is telling people to go vote twice, which is a felony. So, like, you really think this guy gives a fuck about bribery?
No, he doesn't care. It's just shit at all.
Yeah, but this is a warning for all you listeners that this payroll tax holiday bullshit is just that. It's bullshit. The guy is doing you no favors. He's just taking a loan. He's just giving you a loan that you're going to have to pay back later. That's going to end up fucking you. And like you had mentioned, Len, I don't even know how that affects your tax return.
Well, the way that your taxes work is that at the end of the year, they look at your gross and then your net.
Right.
So if you haven't had enough taxes taken out, your net is going to be higher. So then that puts you in a higher tax bracket no matter what you do. So then, let's just say you were making $50,000 and you were getting taxed 21%, and then all of a sudden you really only got taxed, we'll call it 19%. So then you got, 2% more of your actual money in your account. That's going to push you up like 6 steps. and that means that you'll get less back, no matter what you do.
All this math is giving me a headache.
Sorry, bud. They're adjusting it, and they're going to double claw you in 2021, which is why I'm telling people, if they have any sway with their companies, don't go for it. Get the HR department or your entire company to say no and opt out of this. Pay your taxes as normal as to not screw up your structure next year. And that's the best I can tell you. Did you see? All right, so to just pivot a little bit, but we're still not leaving Donald Trump. That he is denying that climate change has anything to do with the fucking wildfires on the West Coast. And that science is still out on this, and it, he can't say that it's true. And I'm just like, can someone get him out of here? Where is the fucking hook? We need him gone badly.
Just set him on fire.
We could only be so lucky.
Oh my God. It's he said science doesn't really know. Like, yeah, buddy, science knows.
Say no. They know.
Science has been telling you for years. Like, what the fuck? But once again, this guy wants you to die.
Oh, he wants everyone to die.
He just wants you to. But that's why I've always said he's the ultimate anarchist, because you know what? He doesn't give a fuck if people are dying all around him. He's like the fucking Joker. He
apparently recently put a climate science denier into a top position at the NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Like, literally, he's just going against the grain at every turn and does not give a fuck about any one of us at all. One of my coworkers is telling me that she lives in Iowa and they can smell the smoke from the wildfires. I believe it's taken over their entire town at this point, and we're talking they're halfway across the country. It's going to smell like smoke over here soon.
It's terrifying. It's crazy, but it's got nothing to do with climate change.
No, the fact that it never rains ever in California anymore, or pretty much on the West Coast for that matter. So then they have no fucking relief from these wildfires. Like, I don't think that we could have such a situation over here on the East Coast because it's raining constantly.
Right.
Like, not that things can't set on fire and don't set on fire, they do. But a wildfire couldn't last 90 days or however fucking long it's been. Well, it's not been 90 days. What's it been, like 18 days? But there at no point did we not get a torrential downpour in about 18 days. It happens so constantly here that any raging wildfire would get snuffed out too quickly.
Right.
I feel bad for everybody on the West Coast right now dealing with this. I mean, I saw some of the pictures from there was a picture at the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's just everything is just orange, and the bridge basically looks like it's on fucking fire itself.
It's terrifying. It's
just harrowing.
There was one image that I saw that was they put side by side images from the last Blade Runner movie.
Oh, yeah.
Next to actual images from California, and it looks exactly the same, and it's like, fuck. Like, and I've heard, like, who was it? On Instagram, Gary Holt from Exodus posted a picture, and it was him wearing a mask, and they were recording. They're recording a new Exodus record.
Okay.
And Tom Hunting is recording the drums right now, and Holt said something like, I had to leave the studio and come over to the other house for a minute because the smoke, the smell is just too much.
It's crazy.
It's just that bad. It's just nuts.
And apparently they're blaming the fire on the the one in California at least, on a quote-unquote gender reveal. And this is now the second time that a gender reveal party has caused a raging fire. Can we stop with the fucking fireworks? You live in California. There's no fucking rain. The water table is way too low. Like, stop with this bullshit.
Now, let me ask you a question, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, okay, my kids are older. It's been a while since I had kids, but we never did that gender reveal bullshit anyway. What the fuck are they doing with these gender reveal parties? Because I always saw it, and it was like a cake or something. You cut into the cake, and like, oh, it's blue. We got a boy. Like, what are they setting fucking fire? They're setting a whole truck on fire.
Just, you see people driving around throwing cigarettes out of their fucking cars. Anything could spark this shit.
Yeah.
Because it's so dry there. Like, stop with the bullshit. People are causing this. I'm not blaming Trump for the wildfires. I'm blaming him for denying that climate change is a big mitigating factor causing these things to rage out of control.
Right. Same as COVID.
Right.
Trump didn't create COVID.
He didn't create it, but he's allowing all the stuff around it to make it worse.
Right. One way or another, everything's burning because he's not doing anything.
Yes. Oh, fuck, man. I can't take it.
But everybody's all in. I just don't fucking get it.
I wish I could be all out. I wish I could just leave, honestly. Like, if you told me that there was some place that could take me and I could get all my stuff out of here and just go, and it would cause no other separate issues, I would be gone. I don't have anything that makes me want to stay here, per se. Like, at this point, I'm not seeing my friends anyway, so what's the difference if I'm talking to them on Skype from the middle of Canada or, like, the middle of the ocean? It doesn't matter. Like, I don't have any interest in being under another 4 years of this.
I just really don't know what's going to happen if there's another 4 years of this, because everybody's at each other's throats now. Mm-hmm. And it's never been so divided as it is right now. And it's financial, it's race, it's all these different things. And I would say it's intelligence too, because let's face it, at this point, if you back Trump, your intelligence is really questionable.
Oh yeah, you're literally not paying attention, or you're willfully buying in. Yeah. One or the other.
Yeah. So it's like it's divided on so many different levels, and it's just
So the last time we had Andy on, we discussed the idea that maybe we're a third world presence at this point, but we are first world humans living in that third world. And maybe it's not that. Maybe we're just living in the death knell of an actual capitalist society.
Right.
I mean, but I look at it and I can't understand what's next. Like, where do we go from here?
That is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I've seen a lot of talk, and it kind of goes along with what you're saying, because we've talked about America being a third world country, and I've joked about America being the trailer park of the world just because of the intelligence shit, going back to all the idiocracy stuff. But also, if you look back at the creation and the history of America, there's a theory that flies around sometimes now. America is, America is still fairly young in the grand scheme of things. A bit over 200 years at this point.
Right.
240 something. And a lot of these discussions are about does this mean it's the failure of the American experiment? Because there was no other country when this was founded. There was no other country that operated the same way.
Right. And there really aren't any countries that operate the same way at this point either. And even when we go into other countries, we go in and suggest parliamentary rule, not what we do.
Right. Well, to lead into the real question of this, something that I've pointed out to people quite a bit lately, and we've probably discussed on here at some point, but I'm going to put all of these ideas out there. This country now is absolutely nothing like what it was when it was founded.
At all.
When it was founded, the idea was that people who were serving in government, like whether it was the president or secretaries and representatives and things like that, they were regular people that would go and do their service to their country, and then they go back to their regular job, at being a lawyer or whatever. The country was never based on career politicians.
It wasn't even built for that.
Right. And it's evolved into that, but that's where the problem comes in, because you've got the career politicians, and with the career politicians comes influence. And as you marry corporate influence and lobbyists and things like that into it, then the whole system becomes corrupted. Because now, when you get into the idea of capitalism, it's all, well, if you work hard, you'll be rewarded, right?
No, you won't.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And you add COVID to this and look at the damage it's doing to small businesses, it's even worse. But even under the best circumstances, it's really difficult to run and maintain and be profitable as a small business, because all of these big corporations are just going to wipe you the fuck out no matter what you're doing. If you're lucky enough to find a niche where you can hide from them, then you might be okay. But otherwise, you're never going to get far.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about something that is near and dear to my heart: mastering. I'm not a mastering engineer, but it's a requirement for any recording that you're putting out. So as I work on recordings, I also work on mastering or work with mastering houses. There are corporate entities out there that have created these fix-all, fit-everything mastering services that you can upload your work. And they are literally putting mastering houses out of business. And then you also have small engineers like me who are also affected by that, because bands can say, hey, for $20 I can just put this on this service and they'll master it for me and send it back to me, and it'll be the volume it needs to be, and I don't have to even think about it, and there's no personal touch. And it's just like, if I can get it down to that small of a level, like where it's actually affecting me or the people that I work with directly, then you can just run that right up the line to any other situation, from the smallest of businesses to the largest of corporations.
Yeah, I see that. And I think a lot of that is also, your smaller clients, they don't have money.
Yep. So,
of course, they're going to go with their cheapest option because they don't have any fucking money.
Gotta go.
But that's, again, it's just another aspect of the small business problem. And it's ridiculous. And also, there's a whole other tangent there with the idea of the value of a lot of this work. because there are so many people just looking to do shit for free or for very cheap just to get their foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just don't care. You know what I mean?
Don't care at all.
They're just not worried about quality as much as they're worried about cost, and like, it'll sound good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess you have to take it down to the brass tacks. 99% of people these days are listening to music on their fucking dumb phone. Like, they're just looking at listening to it on their dumb ass phone, and not even in headphones half the time. Just the stupid speakers that are attached to their phone. They're just turning on their phone. So, does it even matter at that point? Probably not.
No, well, that's a whole other. I've had many discussions about stuff like that with you and with Glenn and other people I know that record, that the quality, you're sitting there making it perfect just for people to listen to it on little pissant speakers. It doesn't even matter.
You're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like, I could spend 10 minutes mixing it and people would be perfectly happy to listen to whatever trash is put out there, because it's all about the hype. Much like Donald Trump, whatever he says is gold, because people aren't actually digging into the value in which that they're just believing whatever hype they're handed.
Right. But that's, this is the problem all around. I think nobody is really concerned with quality anymore. But that's the way it is with everything. That's why people buy stuff at Walmart that, like, the pull one string and the whole thing falls apart.
It's like just people who buy, let's just call it furniture, from the cheapest location they can buy furniture, and they don't think about the fact that they need to sit on this fucking thing for 5-10 years,
right,
to make it. Like, they're like, it's good enough, and I'm like, as soon as I sit on that, the legs are breaking off. Mm-hmm. As soon as I sit down, it's done. Like, buy something that actually has some value. The couch in my house, I spent a decent amount of money on it because I wanted it to last. It's 10 years old as of this coming December, and if I go and fluff the pillows, you would never know that it's 10 years old.
Right.
I keep it in decent condition, and it still sits really nice considering the age of the unit.
No, that's because we're thinking like that, because that's why I bought a brand new computer, because I know it's going to last me for a while. And also, earlier this year I bought a new couch, and you could go the cheapest route, but I didn't, because I know I want it to last.
Right. So I'm talking to you on like a Mac Mini from, I don't know, we'll call it 2012 or 2013.
Right.
And then I have in front of me also my MacBook Pro from 2009. The only thing I've done on this MacBook, I changed out the hard drive because the hard drive died, and that was $89. And then I had to buy a new battery charger, like one of these things. And then that's it. Literally, those are the two things that I've done to keep this computer running for 11 years straight, and I still edit on it. Like,
wow.
I can do anything that I need to do short of mix a record on this fucking machine, and it works. It turns on. Buy something that actually lasts. I will not buy a PC, like, just a regular laptop, because that's literally throwing money in the trash, and I'm just not willing to do it.
Yeah, I've said the same thing. It's like, when it came time for me, I had to get a new computer anyway because my old iMac was dying, and I had plans to do some recording and shit. And I didn't get like the top level iMac, but I got the mid level. Yeah, because I'm not running Pro Tools, but I got the mid level, and it's gonna last me, knock on wood, a good long time.
I'm going to argue it's going to last you 10 years as long as you don't you don't spill something in it. Like
the last one I got used, but it was in use for a good 10 years.
Right. It will last for a good long time.
Yeah.
So to take that back, I used to sell furniture. So just backstory, my father was/is, but really isn't doing it anymore, an upholsterer. So I grew up around someone who had true reverence for the value of a good piece of furniture. And I mean, he built the couches that were in my house as a kid. He built them himself, framed them, and then, built the structure around them. And I'm talking, I was doing Macho Man Randy Savage shit off the fucking corners, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Like, I was full on beating these couches up, and they lasted until about maybe 4 years ago, when his wife was like, I'm done with these being in here, and I want to get something nicer for the living room instead of just, whatever he built. But I'm going to tell you, those things fucking lasted. So when I got into working, I actually worked at a high-end furniture retailer. And what I did was, when my mom needed new furniture, I would just go in to our clearance center and buy the highest end piece that was available at the lowest price I could mark it down to. And we got like a $4,000 couch for like $250.
Nice.
Because they just wanted to get it off the things. She's still sitting on it to this day. I worked there in 97.
Wow.
You sit on it, it feels great, because you buy a solid piece of furniture and it will last you.
Yeah.
Instead of, now, I have no problem with IKEA. This is not a knock on IKEA specifically. But if you go there, you must know that in 4 years, whatever it is you bought, within reason, is going out in the trash, and you got to go buy another one. So you know that it's disposable. And if you're in the position to buy something that's disposable because you're trying to have a stopgap measure, that's fine. Like, you don't have the money to spend on it now, and you want to just buy something to cover it. It makes sense. But don't buy it thinking it's going to be a forever piece, because it's not.
I will say there are a handful of exceptions to that, because I do have an IKEA bed and their beds are pretty fucking sturdy. I'll say that. But a lot of their other stuff
is just trash.
Is fucking toothpicks.
I mean, like, their bookcases
I would never get a couch from there.
No way.
No.
Well, I would get one if it was in an area of a house. Like, let's say I had a house that had like an outdoor-ish area, but that was covered. So I could put it out there and not care that it got rained on, or, something happened and I just had to throw it away. Like, it's throwaway furniture, not keep furniture.
Well, I'll also say, from one big dude to another, their couches and a lot of their chairs and a lot of the other furniture is definitely not made for dudes like us.
It's made for skinny European dudes.
Yeah. The beds are good, I will say.
Well, because they make them to take a licking.
Yeah, but the other shit, like, the chairs and especially the couches, like, that shit will just become toothpicks.
So when I went out and bought my bedroom furniture, when I was looking at, like, bed construction, the first thing I did anytime I was walking in and I thought something looked nice, I did the headboard test. I walked over to the headboard, gave it a little shake. If it's loose in the fucking showroom, it'll be a loose at home. So if it's loose, I'm not buying it, because that means it's not going to hang.
That means it can't take the punishment.
Yeah, this is not ready. It's not ready for prime time. So people, like, you're standing there and you're doing this, and the people doing the sales are looking at you like, what are you fucking doing? I'm like, yo, bro, if this shit can't handle me shaking it by my hand, did you see me? This is not gonna go well.
Should have just told him, like, yo, you new here? Because, yo, son, you're selling beds, man. Like, this is how people test shit out.
Right. You gotta know that it's not gonna fall apart on the second stroke.
Like you're lucky nobody's jumping on it and humping it. Like I'm just shaking the shit. Like be cool.
Yeah.
Like the next dude that comes in here is probably gonna jump on it and try to super fly off the shit.
Yo, honey, get up here. Let's just test this thing out real quick.
Don't worry, nobody's looking.
That camera? Nah, that one. This is not a real camera.
Come on, it's bad. Everybody does this.
Speaking of cameras,
oh god,
we have discussed this end over end. Cops just do not understand that they are on fucking camera all day, every day. Or they just don't care. I
think, and you know, we had a discussion earlier today off the air, obviously. The more I think about it, the more it goes towards what I said to you, which is this: they don't care because the whole system will protect them.
Right.
That no matter what happens in the end, somebody somewhere down the line is going to take care of it for them. Which is just ridiculous. But again, as we've talked about there being problems with the entire system, this is another great example of it. Because they just don't give a fuck. And it doesn't matter if it was them pushing an old man down or whatever, and now all these new things that are coming up, like that they
lying about not seeing a reporter's credentials and then arresting her.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Don't you see all the other people with fucking cameras?
It just never stops.
Did you see the video of the guy who was apparently in a car as a passenger, refused to show his ID, pulled out of the car and beaten on the side of the road?
No.
Literally, one cop is laying on him and the other cop is just punching him in the mouth over and over and over again. And there are two different angles of video. There's the girl who was in the car with him standing up close, like trying to get them to stop, but also videoing, and then somebody else who's driving by stopped and also was videoing this from a distance. And, you know, you're punching me in the face, I'm going to try and block it. I'm not going to just lay there and let you punch me in the face. So then I'm resisting arrest. Like, you should just let them do whatever they're going to do. Okay, let me see you do that.
I didn't see that. But let me tell you how shocked I am.
And you're not. Well, he's not shocked.
Crickets? Yeah. That should tell you everything.
It's just so fucking painful.
It's. But this is, again, like, this is the whole system.
Everywhere you go, you are under scrutiny. People are watching. No matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're standing in the middle of a field right now, somebody has a camera on that fucking field. There is nowhere where you are completely alone unless you're in the middle of the woods, and maybe even then you're not.
But you know what? This is where I go on a rant again. It's all the same shit, because you got Trump people that are just bootlickers and will just toe the line no matter what. And you got a lot of these people that are witness to shit like this, and they just don't say a word. The same way the Republicans enable Trump to do all the stupid shit. Do I believe that there are good cops out there? Sure I do. I want to see more of them come out. And of course, you know, the good cops are the ones that end up getting jammed up for bullshit because, you know, because all of a sudden now they're not team players. But fuck that. I want to see more people come out against shit like this from within. I want to see people blowing whistles. I want to see people making a mess of these things because it's not right. You know it's not right. you're sitting there and you're seeing it and you know it's not right, and you got to recognize the fact that it reflects poorly on you.
And that's my whole problem with it.
Makes you look like shit.
If somebody attached to me in some way gets out of line and it's irreparable damage to my personal standing, they get cut. Because you know what? You can't be seen with those kind of people and not be seen as those kind of people.
Exactly.
So you got all these cops that say, hey, you know, there are good cops out here doing this, that, and the other thing. Step the fuck up, motherfucker. It's time.
Exactly. There's never been more time than now to do stuff like that, because this is why you get a bad reputation. And it's no different from any other, anything else in life. It's like somebody does something stupid as a studio owner, makes a lot of studio owners look bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the things you do reflect back on your group, your community. Whether it's your friends or your profession or whatever it is. So speak up against it, because that's the problem, because people are afraid to. But at this point, it's like, you got to do it. It has to be done, because it can't continue the way it's going.
But they want it to continue the way it's going. And that's what the whole conversation has been about. The fear is that they're going to lose control. And I'm not just talking about the cops, but I'm just talking about people in power of all kinds.
Right.
Is that they are losing control of this country slowly, and they're fighting back against it in the worst ways possible.
Well, because with some of these things, you can't stop it. It's like a waterfall. It's like you can't stop a waterfall.
Yep.
You can't stop the way certain businesses change and evolve. It's just the way it is. And you can either get on board with it, or you can do what the music business did in the 2000s and just, dig your feet in and get fucked.
That's just a mess all by itself.
Right. But that's a perfect example, because that's, having worked in the music business for so long, that's something that I use to illustrate that point, because the music business didn't want to change when the internet came around, and they refused to change. And then everybody was like, "Oh, well, I could just get the shit for free." And then everything
that was definitely me at that time.
Yeah,
I was like, well, I need it right now, so free.
Right, but that's listen, that was tons of people, but. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, you're in this business of policing. Cameras exist. Cameras are everywhere. You could sit there and keep trying to fight it and keep trying to control it. But sooner or later, they still have control over it to a point, but that control is dwindling.
Mm-hmm.
So either you change your approach, or you're going to get run over like the music business did. The writing's on the wall, and you can sit there and fight it and try to find ways to restrict it, but the whole thing is changing, and you got to get with it.
You got to move with the times or get left behind.
There's only so many times as you could say, "Oh, the body camera malfunctioned."
Come on. Well, it's like in Breonna Taylor's murder. they came out and said that there was no body camera available, etc. Then they show pictures of the fucking cop on the day that the thing happened, like in his debrief, sitting with the fucking camera on him.
Of course.
Like, come on. If you're gonna at least lie, be good at covering it up. Like, don't be a fucking dumbass.
Yep. But
they can't help themselves. And they think they're never gonna get called on the carpet.
But that's the problem, because with the system the way it is now, they end up getting the benefit of the doubt most of the time, if not just flat out favored treatment. But, you know, at some point, more people need to speak up and let everybody know, you know, I'm a good cop and I don't want to be part of this. And there's not enough people like that.
There just aren't. And the ones that are typically will quit the force because they'll get run out.
And by the way, just a little tangent and another little rant for a second. Just so everybody knows, because I pointed this out on Facebook also. All you people that are like, oh my God, I can't believe they say defund the police.
Don't be a fucking dumbass. That's not. Don't take it for exactly what that word says.
Well, but listen to what I'm going to say. Remember what I said before about the Senate and the House not being able to agree on another stimulus package?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, there was no funding for state and local governments, right?
Right.
Who the fuck do you think pays for the police?
State and local governments.
Right. So if you're not giving them any money and they're already in all kinds of money trouble because of this COVID shit, you're effectively forcing them to defund the police.
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
But the thing is, yes, they're going to defund the police, but not in the meaningful way that we're talking about doing.
True.
It will just be even less funding for the things that we need funding for, and the police will have less money.
Right.
Like, that's all it is. What we need is a spreading of how funds are given to services that would actually help the community. We need to actually get back into helping our fellow humans instead of just trying to shove them into cages.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you don't give any funding to the state and local governments, you're not going to have any of that funding, and your police are going to have less money.
Yeah, that's what exactly what I just said.
So basically, you're doing both, which is just stupid. Like, why can't we get this together? But it's because, as I said, the Republicans didn't include any of that in the proposal that they put forth, which is stupid in itself. But, you know, here, let's give everybody even less money. That'll work great. We defund the police department, and we don't let anybody else get that money.
We don't want to do any socialism. But,
no!
I mean, let's just talk about some of the socialist policies that we already live underneath, and that's number one, public education. We can't have free public schools without socialism. It already exists, and we have already bought into that idea by having these schools available. There's public transportation. So all our bus systems, while we do subsidize it by paying a small fare to be on it, is subsidized by all state and local government. So fire departments, police departments, public libraries, all the branches of the U.S. military, all the roads we drive on, other than parkways where you have to actually pay, or turnpikes, all those roads, Social Security, Medicaid, you know, any public hospital that exists, any public university, parks, toilets, drinking fountains, like literally, you can just continue to run down the line. You want to talk about waste management for the most part in most municipalities. You have to look at your sewer system. I mean, like, all of the things that are good about our society are socialist constructions.
So wait a minute.
Out.
So if I never have to use the fire department or the police department, I get that money back, right?
Sure, guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's the whole fucking point. It's like, you're paying for these things. You may not use them, but this is how it is.
Because we as a whole need to ensure that we have those things.
Exactly.
Which is why we should have universal health care. Because if we need it, it should be available to us.
Oh, no. Never that.
I don't know. Everybody that rallies against, we'll call it the squad, and anybody that is more socialism leaning, just kind of have their heads in their asses because they're already participating in it.
Right.
I don't think I can even say anything more than that.
Well, I have always said, you know, when it comes to the squad or progressives or socialists, whatever you want to call them, which they're really not socialists, like,
not at all.
You know, like, a lot of these things are basic, like healthcare and shit. It's like, oh God, if they're socialists, you know, they'd see what real socialists are like. But the whole point is a lot of those people, much like when we talk about people that live in other parts of the country that aren't exposed to certain types of people, they've never, you know, they're sheltered. They've never seen a black person. They've never seen a Hispanic, right, or a gay person or whatever. You know, that's a problem with a lot of these people because, you know, listen, you fear what you don't know and what you don't understand. So that's why you get a lot of these racist idiots, because they literally have never been exposed to it. And it's like you hate and fear what you don't know. So those guys like the squad, AOC, they represent a significant change in the government. So of course people hate them because it's a change. Just like those people racists down south. Just like the racists down south hate the idea of change. It's the same thing. Like, nobody wants a change. Everybody's scared of change because what's going to happen if we change the system? But you know what? It's about time the fucking system changed at this point, because the system is just shit. Everything, pretty much everything with the systems here is shit. Yeah, especially when it comes, you know, and you could talk about anything. You could talk about the Electoral College. You could talk about healthcare. You could talk about voting. You could talk about, like, so much of this shit is just all a mess.
You could talk about how they have fucked our entire postal service.
Oh, God.
I mean, they have bent us over every single thing that you could find in the house. No lube. No lube to be found. They've just fucked us. I mean, well, and things are going, like, are being shipped. I saw a friend post that they were tracking a package that was sent to them in New Jersey from Philadelphia, and it went to the New Jersey post office, and then it was rerouted to Kansas City or something like that, just to come back to New Jersey. And instead of going from the Princeton office to the Trenton office, it had to go halfway across the country to come back to the Trenton office.
Doesn't surprise me. I will say this. Trump has done no favors for the Postal Service, but if you know the history of it, the Postal Service was fucked long before.
They've been a goddamn mess for years.
Yeah. I mean, much like everything else with Trump, a lot of these problems were not created by Donald Trump.
No, he's just making them worse.
He's certainly speeding up the whole process in ridiculous ways. But just the funding of, and if you guys listening don't know about it, look it up, Google it. Just the way the Postal Service is funded, the fact that they have to pay their pensions in advance and things like that. These are all things that were bound to explode sooner or later. These are all things that were bound to come to a head. It's like you keep borrowing money, and eventually you're going to get fucked. That's what's been going on with the Postal Service for many, many years. It's just now, Trump has decided to fuck with it way more, which is just bringing things more to the surface. But it's a disaster no matter how you look at it. And when it comes to solutions, shit, no idea. Nobody knows how a lot of these things are going to be fixed. But again, it goes back to, when the Postal Service was founded, things were completely different.
Yep.
And
I mean, times are different, so they haven't significantly changed with times.
Right. And just like everything else. Listen, when they talked about, the Second Amendment, people were carrying muskets.
Yep.
Not AK-47s. So
no ARs.
No, I don't think so. Maybe a time traveler showed up with one, but
it was me, and then I got shot.
But it goes back, and we've gone in a circle around this thing. But go back to the original question that we were discussing a little earlier. Has the American experiment failed?
I think it has. And if it hasn't, it's well on its way.
I think so too, because at this point, what can be different? Everything is so entrenched in a system now that does not work. All of this corporate shit, this is why China is overtaking us as the number one economic power in the world. This is why we don't have jobs. This is why we don't have so many things.
China went from third world to the largest in 32 years.
Right.
That's significant change, and that means that we haven't been keeping up with any sort of change. We're stagnant and falling because we're stuck in our bullshit ways, and it's a problem. It's a big problem.
It's because we put profit over everything else, and sometimes, to use a music business analogy again, it's the idea of artist development.
There is none.
It's like, okay, this first record isn't going to do that great, but we're building this artist. So by the time the third record comes out, we'll be getting
a fucking mega hit.
We'll be getting up there. There's no investment in anything because when it comes to manufacturing, we just gave it all away. When it comes to all these other types of jobs, we gave it all away. So now, if you give everything away, then what do you have? You got nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Exactly.
You got nothing. And it doesn't matter whether it's steel or whether it's cars or whatever.
We do almost nothing here now.
Yeah.
We're consumers. Yeah. We're not producers. We're consumers. And if the world is producing everything that we need, we are at their whim.
Right. That's just how it is, and I don't know how to turn it around.
I don't have an answer either, for that matter. I do want to wrap this back around to the beginning of our conversation, that while we are struggling in some aspects, still some of the best research in the world happens right here on our soil.
Right.
And I did notice that there is going to potentially be, based on some Yale researchers, a fast COVID-19 saliva test. So you won't even need to do the nasal swab, and it will only cost $10 per sample. So that's driving down the cost. I don't know how fast the results will be, but it should be a much cheaper alternative. My scared portion of this is anytime you're spitting into a vial, what else are they using that material for?
Right.
Because, you submit, let's say, to 23andMe, to that DNA database. Not that they can't get your DNA from 1,000 other ways, just like when people are like, oh, they're going to put a chip in you and fucking track your every move. Like, bro, they have your phone and you carry it everywhere. They're tracking you anyway. Shut the fuck up. Like, you go to the hospital and you give blood because they need to test you. They could easily run whatever they want from that blood. But it's what's in the details of that test. So when you sign the little paper, when you do the spit and you send it in, what did they hide in the fucking paperwork that says, hey, we're going to catalog you here, here, and here too? That's my only concern.
And that's an interesting point, because let's be honest, that's where most of these companies make their money now.
Yep.
If you took away the tracking and advertising on any social media site, they'd be fucked. Yep. They wouldn't be able to make any money
at all. Like, that's how Facebook makes their money, is exactly. ad revenue based on your activity on their website. They want you to keep coming back and clicking on things that they put in there based on something else you clicked on before, and just continue to rack up the ad rev.
Yep, that's what they do. But I mean, on one side of it, that will probably be, there's going to be something in the fine print, and that's going to be the only way for you to get a test that's that easy.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, listen, chances are good that even if it's not in the fine print, some of that bullshit is going on behind the scenes, and there's not much you'll be able to do about it. Which is fucked, but, that's the reality, because, listen, Equifax got hacked, and how much shit got out there, and what did that mean for the average consumer? Oh, we'll give you free credit monitoring for a year. Like,
yeah, my shit's out in the wind. You got my whole cheese in the wind.
Yeah, but we'll give you free credit monitoring for a year. You'll be okay. But that's how much value you are to them. It's like, they got your shit, they fucked up, nobody cares, because it's also not like the company gets fined, but they got so much money, it's the way it is with all these corporations. Is like, they're so big that fine is, a little chip off their ass.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
That loss is nothing.
Yeah, so, this company goes and has a test, and even if they don't put it in the fine print, you find out later on that they're supplying your information to whoever. What's going to happen to them?
Dude, I'm not I'm under no assumption that my information isn't floating absolutely fucking everywhere right now.
I think at this point,
you just have to know.
Yeah, you have to accept it, because the reality is, with Easy Pass and with debit cards and with Apple Pay and with every other fucking thing under the sun, your shit's already out there.
Yep. It's
you know, and the truth is, they make it almost impossible for you to operate without that. You know, because how many things could you do without a bank account?
Almost none.
Yeah, I've been there. Because listen, I've been at points where I've had no bank account, and you're crippled. You can't do shit.
So I've had the exact same bank account since I was 16. The exact same one. It's gone from being at a small local like bank in Ewing or wherever I live called Summit Bank to like they've been sold so many. Maybe it was even New Jersey something, another bank, and it was sold a number of times. Yeah. And now I've been at Bank of America for like 16 years straight or whatever, whenever the last buyout happened. And there will be no buyout of Bank of America. They're too large. Like, there's only maybe 2 or 3 banks bigger than Bank of America at this point. So
they've reached their final form.
Yeah. And my account number is the same for literally from the time I got my checkbook. So whenever I started working and I was getting a check and I wanted to deposit it, I started a bank account. I've been at the same place. So I've never been without a bank account. Now I have been and having a negative bank account.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, this shit's overdrawn. But, you know, I've never been without one. So I don't know that pain of not having the option. I just know the pain of them charging me like $30 a day for not having a fucking bank, like money in the bank.
No, you can't get anything done. But that's, you know, and listen again now, you know, that happened to me in the past, but now I see it, like I told you, I work in the hood. So I see those check cashing places popping at all hours of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the only way you can get your money cashed.
Yeah, because that's the bank for the hood. And
I saw somewhere that if you have the right account on PayPal, you can actually get a routing number and an account number, and you can have like direct deposit sent there.
I've seen that before. I wouldn't trust PayPal with that, but
I'm not saying I would trust them. But for some people that are struggling to get a bank account but want to get a direct deposit, let's say from their job, it may be an option.
Yeah, I could. That's not,
because you can get a card from PayPal that works. I mean, I have a business card for the studio because that's what my PayPal is actually tied to, is my business account.
Right.
And, you know, when I need to go to Home Depot to buy toilet paper or paper towels or whatever for the studio, or if I'm building something or I got to pay a bill or something, I just use that account. The money comes out of the PayPal and it is what it is. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't really trust anything. Like, a bank could go under tomorrow. And, you know, the FDIC insures you for $10,000. And anything above that, you're on your own, fucker.
Well, let me ask you this. You had that account for so long?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They ever give you anything?
A hard time when I'll go under. When I go under the red.
So that's why I don't trust banks. It's like
they don't care at all.
Take your money.
Yep. They're using our money to do investments in the stock market all the time. Like, I put my money in and they hope that we don't all show up and take our money out the same day. Literally, that is the whole premise of a bank, is that they take in your money and hold it for you and invest it so that they can make money. Like, right. They don't own your money. You own your money until they lose it all.
Yeah.
So
and maybe depending on your account, they might throw you a couple of cents.
Yeah, a couple percent here and there, yeah. But they're making money hand over fist. So, example, at another point in my life, I worked for BlackRock, which is an investment firm that was taken over they took over a portion of Merrill Lynch Investment Management, which is now Bank of America. So Bank of America owns Merrill Lynch in some form or fashion, and the headquarters is literally 2 minutes from my studio, right. Down the street, in this huge complex that they built. I know for a fact that what happens is you put your money in, and they take it, and they do a whole bunch of investing in various things, bonds, stocks, etc., mutual funds, yada yada. The amount of money that they have in the actual bank is only a percentage of how much they're like actually investing. And right. If that shit goes belly up, oh well, you lost your money. So I actually don't keep more than $10,000 in any bank account ever, because you are federally insured up to 10 grand. Right. Anything beyond that, if they lose it, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You would be much better putting it in other avenues than leaving it in the bank. Leave money in the bank that you are okay with losing.
Yeah, it's a whole crazy racket.
Well, that's why I don't trust PayPal. Like, I have money in PayPal, but PayPal could go down tomorrow, and what am I going to do? Fight them for money?
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier when I made the comment about it. But all those banks is all the same shit.
Yep.
You know, but I could also go on another rant about how much money actually exists versus only existing electronically.
Oh God!
And how easy it would be, if one day everything just got wiped the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they've made movies about it.
We are, yes, they have. But we are over leveraged to the point where if you actually got into the details and everyone knew what was going on, because I guarantee you that 99% of the people in the world, well, not even the world, but the U.S., don't understand how our monetary system works, there would be an actual recall, because there is not enough physical money / gold / whatever else it's backing this money that we spend. Our money is almost fucking worthless. It's just an idea.
Oh yeah. Well, that's, I've said before, I have a mental block when it comes to many things financial, but what little I know, that's kind of why Bitcoin is such a weird thing.
Yeah, Bitcoin, it's based on the idea of it's worth it. It's not like back in the day where you're like, well, I have these 10 sheep and I'm going to trade these 10 sheep for your one cow because I need the milk from the cow and you need the wool from the sheep. It is a tangible asset that you can transfer for the other tangible asset. Right now, all we're talking about is the ethereal idea of having money. There's gold that backs this money, but we only have about 1/10 of what we actually have in the world in true currency. If we even have that at this point, it might even be less than that. And we're just working on the idea that we're going to be financially solvent, because not everybody is going to run off with that money.
Mm-hmm.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's a whole other crazy thing. Too much crazy shit.
I don't think I can do much more today. I'm too angry.
Well, we've agreed that the American experiment has probably failed.
Yes.
We agreed that Donald Trump is an asshole and dangerous and wants to kill everyone. What else have we learned today?
That I don't trust banks, and neither do you. That money isn't real. We've learned that climate change isn't real.
Climate change isn't real. COVID isn't real.
COVID isn't real. Nobody has really actually died from it. Only about 9 total people.
Oh, God.
Everybody else is just mislabeled. And I learned that I'm living in the Twilight Zone, and I need an exit door. That's really all I've learned in the past, we'll call it 6 months.
Okay, we're done. Thank you very much for listening to The Upgrade. Make sure you follow our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, Angel Fire, MySpace,
LiveJournal,
Friendster.
Oh man, Friendster.
You know, what are you gonna do? Yeah, upgradepodcast.net with links to all that shit. And I'm Gary Muttley. He is Len Carmichael. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you soon.
Peace.
Later.